Boom, what's up, Chinch? Coming back at him, baby.
Coming back at him, and this guy's classed himself up a little bit with the background. He's got stuff going on. He's got a microphone. It's unbelievable.
The Big Lambooski's back in the house. Boo, where'd you get that microphone?
Well, that is a big time online presence. She has the mic. She's got the background info and setting me up nicely. So, yeah, I got the light. I got it all right now, guys. I'm ready. I've been ready since the day we left, recording last week. So
no, Boo, you've been ready since this right here. See this right here?
What is this? What is that? How old were we there?
Me, John Cunningham, and the Big Lambooski back. Boo was 18 right there. We used to go to this place called Bob's Sports Bar in Richmond. We'd go there every Sunday. We'd order 100 wings. And freaking eating wings with Boo is like being with a freaking pool of piranhas. You're like, holy shit, watch your finger. Watch your finger. So, dude, like I said, we've been watching sports since that was back in 1994. Boo looks like, man, he really looks like he's from Jersey with the, nice.
Forget about it.
There you go. I know. I actually got my first text or phone calls from Boo yesterday, and I thought it was like, because I don't have Boo's number saved in my phone yet, and I'm like, oh my God, what are these bot calls just crushing me right now? And I'm just ignore, because I'm like, who in New Jersey? I'm not in New Jersey anymore. Who's calling me from Jersey? And I was like, shit, we was trying to plan the show for this week. I just kept hanging up on him.
Just didn't like the show last week. I'm done.
No, it's good. We got we got no more fruit this week, Case, right? We're not eating on the show this afternoon.
Oh, bro, that's what I was getting crushed. First off, I was at MLB Network and I was getting ready to go on air. My bad, total rookie move. I freaking forgot to mute my mic. It did sound ridiculous. I went back and listened to it. I was annoying myself with the cherry bag, and it was ridiculous. So I apologize to all the fans out there that might have been upset. And obviously, Boo was, he was calling me out too. So whatever, Boo, get a hold of yourself and just keep delivering the goods, okay? Yeah. You don't worry about my cherry eating filet mignons with a
my wing
pistachio.
eating skills. You're talking about my wing. How about your cherry skills, dude?
Domination, dude. Yeah. Domination.
Right. So here we are, week 2. The first one, we'll call it a pilot, the first episode, because we're just getting to know Boo, like getting to know our new boy that's in the team, works in the mayor's office with the rest of us. But we're fired up about it now. And now, starting this week, we are locked in. We got graphics. Boo got a nice background. He's got a nice microphone. And we are, 2 weeks away from draft time. So we're gonna start this week. We're going to lock right in. And we're going to talk like ADP, average draft position. Right, Boo? Is that where we're going here to start? You're fired up about this.
100%. Average draft position gives you an idea where people are being drafted, and it also gives you an idea where you might be able to grab some value when you draft. So I love it.
Perfect. All right. So where are we starting here? Let's just say, oh man, everybody's got drafts coming up. You got keeper leagues, you got non-keeper leagues. Oh wait, let's start here. Before we get into actual ADP, we touched on this last week, but you and I, before we got on and before Sean got on late, we were talking about, like, I was in some league last year where it was one of those things where it was like a best ball kind of thing or whatever, and 2 quarterbacks and this and that, and I'm drafting and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting all the best guys, and then I realized I had the worst possible draft for the system I was drafting in, and I basically just threw $25 in. You could have thrown in a fireplace, right? So you got to know what your draft is. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know what, Chinch, we opened with it last week in terms of like, hey, know your settings, know the league that you're in, know the rules, know how they draft. Again, if you have to start a certain position more than another and you don't know that, and you're there dropped in the other position and everybody's scooping up, let's say it's a 3 wide receiver start league, and you're like, hey, I'm going to take my running back, so everything's great. And you're like, I got, Alvin Harper as my wide receiver. Wait, he stopped playing for the Cowboys in like 1998. Like, you don't want that to happen to your draft. So you just really need to know the rules and settings, going into any draft, so you don't lose or throw your money away.
Got it. Case, what do you got? You got any questions?
Why'd you dig up Alvin Harper right there? Like, I'm interested. Is that the only guy that's the first wide receiver popped in your head, Alvin Harper?
Well, Case, this is one of my first runs on this live stuff. So you know what? Alvin Harper, we talked about him earlier, and he just stuck in my head, okay?
Yeah, no, we were talking about him because here's the other thing. Let's start.
Louis Lips.
Louis Lips. I love it.
Oh, here comes Stu, by the way. Stu's here, by the way.
What's up, Stu?
So the reason Alvin Harper came up was because we were talking about what's his name with the Browns getting suspended.
Deshaun Watson.
Yes. And I was talking about like changing systems, different quarterbacks, whatever. And I was like, back in the day, if you remember, Alvin Harper was like the greatest number 2 wide receiver in the world. And then where did he go? Tampa? He went somewhere where he got a big wide receiver 1 like salary. And then he went there, but he wasn't a wide receiver 1. So it was like probably a bad draft at the time to get him at that point. So that's where we're going with this. So we're talking average draft position. We got Watson going on the one side. Do you draft Browns? Do you not draft Browns? But let's get going, Boo. Just get right into whatever you want to hit on right now. You got notes everywhere. Start knocking us out with some stuff.
We'll stay on the Browns so we knock that and get them out of the way. We don't want to talk about them for too long. Anyway, with Jacoby Brissett taking over at quarterback, I'm obviously going to downgrade all the wide receivers on that team a little bit. A guy that I'm actually intrigued with is David Njoku, who's the tight end, who's had immense talent. Now doesn't have Hooper there. So he's a guy that flashed some serious potential at times. And now with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback, who when he was in Indianapolis looked for his tight ends a lot. You look at something like that and you say, okay, the reason why you want to try to get, Kelsey, Andrews, and then maybe even Pitts, nice 53-yard reception last night, the only series he had. So there's major potential there for him to jump into that tier, is because when you get to the bottom, middle tier, you just don't know. They're all sneaky good, sneaky talented. And so you can wait on that position if you don't hit the top guys and get a guy like David Njoku. And I'm telling you, he's going to have the best year he's had, at least through 11 weeks where Deshaun is on the sideline and watching games. Jacoby is the starting quarterback. Secondly, obviously, I'm downgrading, Amari Cooper and, Donovan Peoples-Jones and some of the wide receivers there because, again, they're going to run the ball more. That's what they do. That's what they're built on. And with their running back room the way it is, I would target all 3 of those running backs at some point. Kareem Hunt is a guy I'm going to talk about kind of in my ADP where I think you can get some value. And obviously Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is an explosive dynamo and somebody that you can take as your RB1 and just sit back and watch him go, especially before Deshaun Watson gets there, because they're going to have to lean heavily on the run.
Wait, so I got a question about that. So are you cool with, sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't like it, but are you cool with when there's the fire and ice running back committee, there's the stronger guy who gets the third downs, probably gets the, or not even third downs, probably gets first and second down and gets the goal line stuff. And then you got the faster, more Kareem Hunt type of guy who might be the third down guy, might get you more receptions. You're okay drafting one of the 2 in a 2-back committee? Or
Here's the deal nowadays. It's more of what you see in the NFL than used to seeing the bell cow running backs. We'd love to get a bell cow running back. And in my philosophy over the years, and again, last year, talking about the 2 wide receivers that I drafted in one league for the first time in a long time, didn't really hit for me. So I don't want to have that leave a bad taste in my mouth, because I'm not saying that can't work, because it has worked for people. But I want the running backs now because of that situation early. And then if you're a wide receiver early person, or you're in a wide receiver league, then you don't have a choice but to grab those committee guys. So you better hope they're doing the thing. And nowadays, believe it or not, those number 2 running backs on the teams like Kareem Hunt, like A.J. Dillon, they're actually startable flex guys in fantasy football, so you really can't go wrong with them. And if you look at a guy like Kareem Hunt, don't let Nick Chubb get banged up, because then you have an RB1 that you got immense value for. And I'm not wishing an injury on anybody, but Nick has been, nicked up, no pun intended. He's been nicked up a little bit. And Kareem Hunt easily walks into an RB1 room. Now, here's the crazy thing. Ernest Johnson showed that he can run the football last year when those guys were down. So now, not only if Chubb gets nicked up, but there might be some steals there in carries for Ernest Johnson. And, I can see that happening. But if Hunt moves up to number 1, then I think Ernest Johnson kind of takes over Hunt's role, because I think some of these head coaches are like, I don't want to wear these guys down. I want to keep them fresh and have them longevity. Whereas you got other situations like Derrick Henry and you got Najee Harris and you got certain guys where it's like you're going to get the rock and you're going to get fed. But those guys are far and few between nowadays.
Boo, I saw something where Kareem Hunt was saying that he wanted to be traded.
Yeah, a lot of guys say they want to be traded right now when they're not happy about their contract or, the amount of touches they get. Kareem Hunt knows he's a number one running back in the NFL. Obviously it's becoming a theme here that the Cleveland Browns will just take you no matter what you have done in the offseason or on the side. There's a spot to play, and the Haslams, they'll just bring you in and turn the cheek. But the truth is, Kareem Hunt was the number one running back, one of the best fantasy running backs in the game in Kansas City. And he went over to Cleveland because they gave him a shot, and he found his way back on the field. They just happened to draft Chubb high early in the first round, and Chubb is a stud. So that's his situation right now. If he gets traded and it works out for them, then yeah. If he goes to a team that loses a running back and then that's great value. But those things you can't foresee any of that.
Wait, so we're gonna dive into this ADP stuff because Boo's about to jump out of his TV screen to tell. He's got so many notes. We talked before, but right before, I got one last question. Case, do you guys have your draft? So, if you didn't listen last weekend, which you should have, we got Pete Harnish, we got Aaron Boone, we got big time. Who's
Greg Vaughn,
superstars, Denny Nagel, Austin
Matt Clement.
Yeah, this is a very expensive fantasy football league that Sean Casey's in. I'm just saying that.
Well, we call them. What do we say? We just
like ducats.
Units.
Boxes of ziti. That's what the Italians say. You got 2 boxes of ziti. All right, so you're playing for a lot of boxes of ziti. Have you established that when the draft is going to be yet? And do you know your pick yet in the draft?
Boo.
Yes.
Boo. Boo does everything for Sean.
So it goes back to what we talked about last week. I know everything, and Sean knows enough. But he does not know draft picks. He does not know the days. I will take care of that.
Okay. So when is the draft?
I know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to be dangerous, basically.
Yes.
Wait, but so do you have the draft date yet? And have you
September 6th.
Okay.
It's actually the 7th, the day before the league. But, okay. And it's the 1st and the 7th, I think. I just looked it up. And we have the 8th pick in both drafts. First time ever.
Ooh.
Have the same number. So it's really interesting. I'm glad you said that, Chinch, because you didn't know that, before you asked me that. But it's really made me think about, okay, listen, do we target the same guys and have the same guys on both teams? Or do we switch it up for the love of fantasy and want to be able to watch? So that's the beauty of this whole thing. That's why I jumped out of my screen, because it hits so many different levels for you as a fanatic and an animal that I am about fantasy and football itself. It hits everything for me because it's like, wow, I got the 8th pick. Well, if we hit on guys that we really, really like, then there's a chance to win both leagues and just run away. Whereas one of those guys gets hurt, and now in both leagues, you're sitting there going,
oh, right. I get it. Like,
able to get through with an injury or two. But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I do that a lot too. Like, do you draft the same guys? Go ahead, Case. Do you draft the same guys that you want, or do you try to mix it up so that you're not just blowing, either just winning your league or losing your league?
I will say this, and I'll give him a shout out because I respect the way he's done it over the years. Matt Clement is a very good fantasy football player in these leagues. Believe it or not, he's really good. And he will target guys that he wants no matter what ADP, no matter what, round, if he feels like they're going to have a good year. And they usually wind up doing. And he'll definitely draft the same guys on both teams no matter where, because injuries happen. He doesn't live or die with whether the injury and trying to spread it out. He's trying to win, and he goes after his players. Whereas, again, that's a great philosophy, and he has made, the units. He's come into the units, many times. But, again, for me, it's like I kind of like to watch football so much that if there's a Thursday night game, a Monday night game, I know if I have guys on other teams, I'm going to be able to watch the game with a little bit more interest.
Right. I agree with that.
For me.
I agree with that. I did used to, back in their primes, I used to try as hard as I could, especially if I did an auction league, Frank Gore and Steven Jackson, I would just try to draft. I just would draft them as many times as possible because I knew they were my running backs, and I knew they were going to get the ball 2 out of every 4 downs. And I get what you're saying, but then again, if like one of them got injured and I had them in 2 or 3 leagues, now my other leagues, I'm like, you just get like, oh man, I just blew it all across the board. It's a great,
big time lesson.
It's an interesting concept. There you go, Case. You're back. Where'd you go, man?
We'll talk more.
Well, my daughter asked me to put the macarons in the oven, and I forgot. So I'm like, oh, I just got a text saying, Dad, you put the macarons in the oven? It was like 3 hours ago. I'm like, oh, shit.
Case, is that macaroons, are you trying to say? Or
No, macarons. I think there's macaroons, and then there's macarons.
Listen, I'd like to try the macarons because I don't know if I've had.
They're delicious, bro. They're delicious.
Nice.
Boo, and I also think at number 8 we should take Justin Jefferson, baby. He looks like he's going to be legit this year.
I love Justin.
That's what my thing says.
Listen, I mean, we'll talk about that, okay? Off the air, okay? You and I, we'll have our own private.
Oh, you're going to keep this. You got to keep this down.
I don't. I'm not against Justin Jefferson in number 8. I really don't feel like he'll be there. I think he's going in that range of like 5, 6, 7. He might not be there any.
Oh, I'm going to keep him then. I got to keep a league where I drafted him, I think, in the 3rd round last week. All right, so, Boo, just go for it. Give me your ADP. You got your notes. Just rip off your notes, man. We'll just sit here and enjoy it.
The first guy I'm going to talk about that, again, in the past, I've really overlooked this guy, and I'm tired of it. His name is Mike Evans. And, again, Mike Evans, all he does is have 1,000-yard seasons. And in a situation like this year, where Gronk is no longer there, okay? Their offensive line is not as good. They took some injuries. So Brady's going to have to figure it out. They're a work in progress. So you got Godwin, who's got the ACL, okay? And again, it's not even been a year, less than that, because he got hurt at the end of the year. So you just worry about how guys are going to come back and perform. As much as I love Godwin and think, if he comes back, he represents maybe some slight value from where he's being drafted, obviously. But you default to the guy that's healthy and he's out there. He's coming back from a hammy. I don't like those, but sometimes those are just nicks and crannies in training camp, and they just sit guys for anything, especially if they know you've done it. And all Mike Evans has done is catch touchdowns and 1,000-yard seasons from Tom Brady. And he's the only healthy guy still there. They went and got Russell Gage from Atlanta, but Russell Gage is Russell Gage. He's not Mike Evans. So you look at a guy like Mike Evans, and it's like, man, this guy can lead fantasy football and he could be the number 1 wide receiver at the end of the year.
But so wait, where's he going right now? Is he like 2nd or 3rd round? And
he's going back end of the 2nd round, early.
You think he's a 1st round pick? Do you think he's like?
No, I don't think he's a 1st round pick. I'm just saying for where they're going right now, these are guys that I think have value at their draft position right now. And this is all about ADP, where I'm looking at guys and saying, hey, if you don't think he's sexy, I get it. But at 19, 20, 21, the turn, in a 10-team league, back end of the 2nd round in a 12-team league. And I do want to say this because this is something I thought of, and I had some serious feedback after the trial run last week, fellas. So a lot of people reaching out to me with some feedback, and I listen to my fans, okay? I give them what they want, all right? So the Big Lambooski says this. Basically, and again, know your draft style too. We talked about the salary cap. We talked about the snake draft. Well, what is that? Well, for people out there that are kind of beginning, and I had some beginners that listened to the show that were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, whoa, this is a show for the veterans, okay? But no, it's a show for everybody. So we want the snake draft in a 12-team league is one of my favorite things because I think there's strategy and everything about. There's 14-team leagues, 16-team leagues, 10-team leagues. In a 12-team snake draft, you're drafting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then you're coming back number 12 picks at 13 and snaking around back down to the first pick, which becomes pick, 20, 21 in a 10-team and then 23, 24 in a 12-team league. So understanding that that's what we're talking about when we talk about average draft position and snake drafts. All right, that's out of the way, all right? Next guy I'm going to talk about, is Saquon Barkley, all right? Saquon Barkley, we all know the type of talent the guy has. I mean, it's not like a matter of talent. He's been hurt. It stinks. We hate that. Last year's injury was a freak injury on his ankle that blew up like he had 6 ankles. The music, I dig it.
What is this? What is this, Case? Now your phone?
He's just.
Oh, we're keeping this in.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's one of a kind.
We're keeping this in. All right, keep going. So Saquon Barkley, keep going.
So Saquon Barkley, he's the type of guy that, like, he had 2,000 yards his rookie year, total yards. Daniel Jones looks to me at times like he should be better than the numbers say. Their offensive line has been not good. Not good. They went out and got Neal. He's a first-round draft pick, one of the best linemen to come out. He's had a little bit of struggles in camp, but he'll get it. You know, that's everybody. They got Thomas from last year. They drafted in the first round.
Right.
You're investing guys in your first round, and you got some free agent signings. Their line should be better. They got younger receivers and some veteran guys that can still get the job done for them. Saquon Barkley is going to be very involved in the passing game.
Okay. Yeah, I've read a lot about that. Like that they are trying to make him like almost like run and shoot type thing where like throw him the ball, you know, throw him a couple screens, you're getting an extra half point in a PPR league every time he catches it, all that kind of crap. And also the fact that like Daniel Jones, how about this? Like is kind of mobile. He reminds me a little bit of Jeff Garcia from back in the day.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more play action you can do. Hopefully, if they can organize, they have like 9 wide receivers. You don't know if any of them's a number 1 or a number 2 yet. But so you're thinking, go ahead and get him. So what is his ADP right now? Is what?
He's 19th, 20th overall.
Wow.
Back end of the second round. Like that. Yeah. Honestly, like
how do you not drag him? How do you not? If you have 19 and he's still there,
I'm 15th overall. I'm taking a shot at the guy because. At that point, it's enough for me to say, you know what, this guy represents way too much, you know, for me at this point that I have to take a shot at him. Because, again, 2 years off the ACL is what I like for any type of NFL football player. If you come back 1 year off an ACL and you're doing work, I'm like, yo, you're a freak. You're crazy. Psychologically, it gets to you. Like, you got to battle that. The guys coming around, you got to let it all go. By the second year, most guys let it all go. So this is your second year. He didn't hurt the knee last year. He rolled the ankle, and it looked like he had 6 ankles. It was ugly when they showed the camera. I'm like, ooh, like Casey, when I was first back in 99. I was like, that ankle's gone, okay? So he's just a guy that just has free talent. And, like, again, I think his situation is better, and they have the best line they've had there in a while. And I relate line play to your running back and your quarterback. So things should look a little bit better for him there.
So when me and Casey started the season started this year, a guy that I was working with asked me, he's like, do you want Jose Abreu or would you rather have Paul Goldschmidt as a baseball player? And Sean and I talked about it on our show one day on one of the fun bags. And the question was, my answer was, hey, you know what? I know I'm going to get like 280 to 300 25, 30 homers and maybe 100 RBIs out of Abreu. But if I can get Goldschmidt, maybe if he puts it together and look at him right now, look what he's doing this year. Like he's MVP type. You have more upside with Goldschmidt than you do with Abreu. You have more consistency with Abreu. So do you like to draft more on, I know I'm going to get this out of this guy, or are you looking more upside in an ADP draft?
You're hitting on my nerves, Chinch. You're hitting on my nerves right now, and I like it. First of all, early in the draft, you know, again, is where you, like a guy like Barkley and stuff. If I can get solid players early, I like that. I like to take more of my shots towards the middle rounds because there are a lot of guys that are in that realm that, you know, oh man, I like to be as safe as I can with my first couple picks and guys that like don't have an injury history. Well, guess what? That doesn't mean anything anyway. Derrick Henry was my guy. I try to tell people this, and it makes me laugh. Like Derrick Henry was outproducing everyone on a fantasy football field last year, on a regular football field and fantasy. He had 24-point-something points per game through 8 games. He was on pace for back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, never been done before. Like, am I missing something? Am I missing something when people think like, oh yeah, you know, Dalvin Cook and, you know, and Henry and the workload and but guess what? I picked him because he never gets hurt. And of course he gets hurt, but he gets hurt riding out what I thought he was going to do. So I can live with that.
Right.
Like, no, it's not like get hurt like Barkley after you don't start off. And it's like, it was more like, okay, the guy got hurt. He was leading fantasy football in points, better 2-point-something points better than Jonathan Taylor, who's everybody's number one by far. Well, what reason do you have for that? Right. Okay. Indianapolis, a little bit better line. Tennessee's line's not as good this year. I could definitely understand why people are going. But, like, again, it was my argument last week. If you wanted to take Henry number one, like, Well, what do you have not to go on there? Like, what's stopping you? Better than Cooper Kupp, better than Jonathan Taylor. That's where he was last year when he got hurt. Unbelievable. So nice. I look at a guy this year, and I look at like ADP. Let's get back to it because I want to roll right in because I got a lot of ADPs and value for you. Leonard Fournette. Same reasons as Mike Evans. Tom Brady loves the guy. He throws the ball to the guy. He's a better receiver than you think. And they got a rookie, I think Rashad White or somebody else as his backup. Ronald Jones is out of town. He used to try to steal carries from him. They realized that ran its course. So he packed his bags. He might be cut from, I don't even know what team he is right now. But Leonard Fournette, all right? Average ADP around 25 right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, same exact situation that Mike Evans has. It's Tom Brady, loves him, throws the ball to him. He's extremely involved in the passing game. He's got good hands for a big man, really good hands for a big man. And he runs hard. And so he passes everything that you want in terms of, okay, a running back number one. And he's going in the second round. You know, and again, like you got guys like Stephon Diggs and guys that still going ahead of him in the first round and stuff like that. If you want a wide receiver, that's great. But I tend to like running backs that are bell cows on their team. And he's 100% a bell cow. And not only that, but Tom Brady trusts him. You get Tom Brady's trust, he feeds you the rock, period.
Gotcha.
And so, again, at 25 in the second round, anywhere in the second round, like Fournette, there's a lot to like about him.
All right, good. Great. Who else you got? You got a couple more. I'm looking at your list.
Oh, yeah. We stay in that realm. I like Josh Jacobs. Let's talk about Josh Jacobs real quick. And this is going to surprise some people because a lot of people's bust list this year. Not the Big Lambooski, okay? Opposite of that. When people go bust, I go in the other direction, okay? I don't listen to these so-called whatever you want to call them, okay? I know what I know because I watch the game of football. Josh Jacobs, you know what I love about him? It's a contract year this year. Not a hold in. He's not any of that. They said, you don't want to pick up my fifth-year option? Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show up with my new regime, my new coaching staff. I'm the number one running back here, okay? And I'm going to remain the one running back here. And I'm going to go play myself into a multi-year contract with somebody. Josh Jacobs is ridiculously undervalued this year, okay? The man didn't complain. No, by the way, your line is better this year. Your quarterback is ascending. You have one of the best wide receivers the game has seen, okay? You have a big-time tight end who everybody thought was going to be the next guy last year. Okay, double-team them, get him. Okay, they had one of the wide receivers get hurt and did terrible car crash last year. So he was out of the mix kind of like right before the season started. Renfro stepped up, who I like this year. I love Renfro. Got the best wide receiver, one of the best wide receiver rooms and ascending quarterback. What's not to like about Josh Jacobs, who grinds through injuries? I watched an ugly ankle sprain last year he had. Fought through it, stayed in the game, missed like a day or two of practice, played the next game. Like, count me in.
Yeah,
count me in with tough guys, and he's a tough guy.
I love it.
Alabama running back. He's built. He's not a very vocal dude. He grinds. And everybody, 43rd overall, you're getting him in the fourth round. Some people, I got a magazine that I looked at the other day. I just like to look at the mock drafts. Somebody got him in the fifth round, last pick of the fifth round. I'm like, I'll take him
Sign me up.
in that area time and time again.
Love it.
Starting running back on a really good offense in an explosive division where you're going to have to score. That's just touchdowns by default. And again, it didn't happen for him last year. Played hurt, banged up. Had Chase Edmonds there, who is one of my real big value guys. Because remember what I told you guys? Like the segue from Josh Jacobs right into my man Chase Edmonds right now. The thing with Chase Edmonds that impressed me is that I watched him the other day. I watched that preseason game. And not only did he look spry, but he was also a guy last year with an ankle. And so all those running backs in Las Vegas had some injuries and stuff they were battling, but they toughed it out. And Edmonds, although he's been dinged up a few more times, I watched him the other day in that offense, and I'm like, okay, the guy looks fast. They paid him some money, so they want him on the field, okay? And I think that Miami team is sneaky good with position players, and they're going to have a really good defense, which always leads to more offensive opportunities. So I'm looking at a guy like Chase Edmonds saying, man, where do I have him down as his ADP? You know, let me see here. Oh, he's 91 overall. Whoops.
Right.
8th round, 9th round. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So where would you get him? What round would you grab him? 6th, 5th? Would you go that far down?
If I'm in the 7th round and I want a stronger running back, and I think, okay, where am I drafting? Is he going to make it to me here? I'm picking 7th round. Thank you. At that point, if you don't have 6 guys on your team that you feel good about, that you can start a team with, what are you doing? You know, 7th round, 8th round. Yeah. If I'm looking and I'm saying I need a running back and that guy's around, you know, he really spry and really good in that Miami Dolphins uniform. All I'm saying, that's my eyes. That's it. Bada, bada, boom. The next guy, DJ Metcalf.
Okay.
You zing, I zang, you bing, I boom, whatever it is, I'm doing it. Like, everybody's down on DK Metcalf, okay? Yeah, he's got, you know, Drew Lock and Smith as his quarterback this year. You know, this, that, and the other thing. He was a contract holding. They paid him, so he's paid, okay? Maybe that settles him down a little bit. Number 2.
He was disappointing, though. He was disappointing last year a little bit, no?
He was disappointing last year, but that's because, again, Tyler Lockett, okay, they wanted to try to run the ball, establish run. Pete Carroll likes to do that, and it just didn't happen last year because, again, he just wasn't looking his way. He was getting double-teamed, and here's the guy saying, guys, even double-teamed, if you throw the ball in my direction.
Yeah, he's 700 pounds and runs like a 4.3 40.
He's Terminator, man. He's just like the most imposing-looking individual, like in football.
He's got 12 abs. Most people have 6 to 8. He's got 12 abs.
He's a genetic great case, and honestly, this is what I mean by zig and zag. We can't get deterred about what happened last year. And even though I say that where I'm going away from my wide receiver top of round 1 because it didn't work out, you still have to worry, like, that's last year. It has nothing to do with this year, and this year could be totally different. And a guy like Metcalf now, oh, by the way, he was everybody's sexy pick. High 2nd round last year.
Second round
for everybody. 48th, back end of the 4th round. I mean, if that doesn't represent value to you, I don't know what does. Somebody's got to catch the ball there.
Right.
You're going to be playing from behind. You know, what do you do when you play from behind? You throw the ball. If let's just say, you know, Gino or Locke says, okay, I'm not Russell Wilson. I'm going to force feed this guy no matter what.
Right.
Force feed 7, 8, you know, receptions a game. I'll get my 100 yards, and fantasy will love me. You know, so there's value there in my eyes. Okay. Next guy, Elijah Mitchell, running back, San Francisco 49ers. If you looked at Shanahan's offenses and you just look at their running backs, Chinch, you get 4.5 yards per carry. Casey gets 3.8. and Daniels, but Chinch is no doubt you're in better shape right now. You can get 4.5 yards per carry in a San Francisco offense.
I like it.
Last year, you know, I was big on Mostert because, you know, he had those flashes, but he's a guy that can't stay up. But again, McDaniels, who's in Miami, brought Mostert over. Mm-hmm. So again, as much as I like Edmonds, and if they get clipped up, Raheem Mostert, he could be sneaky, but there's a waiver wire guy, maybe a back end flyer guy. So we don't want to get too crazy with people. But Shanahan,
he's like a 4.3 40 guy too, right? Isn't he?
He's stupid. He's like one of the fastest guys. Somebody made an announcement this week. I was watching the game that he might be faster than Tyreek Hill. They were like, he might be able to beat him. I was like, whoa.
That's saying something.
Go down. Cheetah, don't know. But just to be in that category means that anytime you get the ball, you can take it to the house. What do we love? I want guys that can take it to the house on every play. That excites us. So going back to, you know, Elijah Mitchell, 20-plus touches last year as a rookie, over 100 yards a game. 4th round, guys. What happened? What am I missing that a guy could be going to the 4th round and there's not a lot of talk? And again, he was banged up a little bit. They tried to get other guys into games. You know, obviously mostly would hurt, but they had James Hasty. He was hurt. They had one other guy, Wilson, Jeff Wilson Jr. has come back. Wilson got his chance. Didn't look as explosive or as big and strong as what Elijah Mitchell looked like. So he passed the eye test last year, and he's the returning number 1 running back in one of the best running game scripts that any head coach or anybody calls in the league. Really? Right. Again, here we are. Like, what's not to like about getting Elijah Mitchell in the 4th round? If you're in the 3rd round, like I said, if you want a guy and you're like, man, I need a guy, these are the where I'm like, a round earlier, I'm okay with. These are the guys that when I talk about ADP, I'm saying if you want to take them a round earlier than what their average draft position is, it might take that to get there.
I like that.
That's why I'm like, okay, I'm giving you these guys because if it's around early, then it's around early. Sit back, enjoy watching the man do his thing because he's in a situation for absolute success. You know what? And I love offenses like that have Deebo Samuel, who, oh, by the way, when he not have the ball in his hand, he's working hard for you as a running back.
Right.
So when you get guys that are grimy on the outside, a la Hines Ward, you know what I mean? And those guys, who, by the way, the jersey's coming out next week, Hines Ward. You know?
He should be in. Why is he not in Canton?
You know?
Why is he not in Canton? Why is Hines Ward not in Canton? Let's go.
Good question.
deep wide receiver waiting list in camp, man. A lot of guys on that.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's stay here. You got one more. Give us one more guy because we have a week because there's more drafts happening next week. So I have one other question before we go after this, but give us one more guy who you're like, we need this guy. You need to draft this guy. What do you got?
I'm going to give you another guy because I have like 6 or 7, 8 other guys in that category. We'll wait for next week to give you more. But the one guy I'm going to talk about now is a guy that we've kind of hit on that it's like making a lot of sense. David Carr, okay? Derek Carr. David Carr is his brother. Derek Carr. Okay. Carr, we talked about him being a better NFL quarterback than he is a fantasy quarterback. Mm-hmm. But then when you look at his overall numbers last year, you go, okay, actually wasn't bad. He almost, one of the top 12, for fantasy. Oh, who did he have last year to throw to? Okay, one of his guys gets in a terrible accident. We lose him before the season. Teams double-team Darren Waller. His offensive line was banged up. All of his running backs were banged up. The guy gutted and fought through and looked and won games for them. Enter Devontae Adams. Okay, you don't just enter a guy that's like, hey, you know what? No, you enter one of the best wide receivers in the league, a guy that is undealable one-on-one pretty much, who teams have to account for and maybe send a safety over the top. Hunter Renfrow, you're still in the middle there. Darren Waller, oh, guess what? You're still very talented. You got a couple other young guys. Come on, man. Derek Carr, if you pass on quarterbacks early, which I tend to do, and you come around and you draft like what I like to do with the tight ends if I miss them or the quarterbacks, I like to double up and back-to-back rounds with them. So you double up a Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, yeah, all right. I'll play some matchups. And I'll be fine at quarterback. You run Patrick Mahomes out there every week. And you know what? Patrick might outscore him a little bit. But like I said, when you get Patrick Mahomes up there early, I'm getting somebody that can maybe help me, Mark Andrews, who's a differentiator at that position. Right. More so than Patrick is that week with Matthew Stafford, who threw his 2 touchdowns, got his 300 yards. And, okay, it wasn't an extra touchdown. But so – it's one of those things where, I think Derek Carr of all years, not only is he ascending as an NFL quarterback, but this is the best talent around him that he's ever had. And I don't have to talk about Devontae Adams, who, by the way, did you know was his teammate at Fresno State? Yes.
Right. That's going to be pretty cool.
In college, they're reunited, and David Carr will force you the ball. A double whammy there. That's good. Wait, hold on. So before I ask my question, and we'll go over these guys more next week, but rip through your other, what'd you say? You got 5 other guys on your list? Rip through them. Give me like a one-liner on each guy, and we'll go deeper into them next week. Mike Williams, 1 sentence on each guy. Mike Williams, through 5 weeks last year, number 1 overall receiver in fantasy over Cooper Kupp. Mike Williams. Hurt his knee in week 5. Took him a while to come back. Like I said, knee injuries came up. A lot to like about that guy. Ascending quarterback, ascending offense, and kind of afterthought with Keenan Allen. No, Mike Williams, 51st. Value, okay? Good. Cam Sutton, you got a brand new quarterback there in Denver, Cam. Cam started coming on. Again, same guy. 2 years removed from the ACL. We talked about that, liking that. Getting stronger, big physical specimen. He was the guy coming up at the time before he got hurt. So he kind of like been in the background. Kenny Hamler, Jerry Jeudy, all that stuff. Early in camp, guess who's Russell's main guy right now? Looking for him all day in camp. I love to hear stuff like that. I love to hear stuff like that. I want you to be the go-to guy. Russell will throw it to you. You know what I mean? If he's your go-to guy. Kind of like he looked for Lockett in all those situations why he got away from DK. So it's kind of happening in Denver. I like that setup.
Good.
Okay? Yeah, the other guy, Darnell Mooney, all right? Of all the people that ever played in Chicago, and Chicago is a thick grass, slow type stadium where guys don't look like they're flying around in Chicago. There's something about Soldier Field. If it's still called Soldier Field, I think it is. But there's something about that stadium that doesn't play fast. Darnell Mooney looks fast. Not only does he look fast, but he's been gaining a little bit of weight and contesting. He's been grabbing some contested passes, which impressed me about him. And, oh, by the way, Fields was looking for him a lot last year.
Got it.
Guess who's starting quarterback again? Fields. He trusts him. I know you got Cole Kmet in that situation with the tight end, but, Allen Robinson's no longer there. Darnell Mooney started taking over. Guess what? Darnell Mooney, 74th overall. Good value, okay? Amon-Ra St. Brown. Don't have to talk about what he did at the end of the year last year. For some reason, people think DJ Sharpe, okay? Let's talk about his woes as the Jacksonville Jaguar, the many years that people had him. It's like, DJ Sharpe. Oh, because he's in Detroit now, you think Amon-Ra St. Brown he's gonna lose targets to him? No. My man, the quarterback, Jared Goff, fell in love with him. Goff fell in love with him last year.
Yep.
Force fed him, and the guy caught everything that was thrown his way.
Totally.
What about that do you not like coming into the season? Why doesn't that continue? To me, it continues. And oh, by the way, one of the best offensive line graded out by Pro Football Focus or whatever it is that grades out offensive lines, Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles were up there 1 and 2. Line, a lot of things can happen. You give Jared Goff enough time, which we've seen even in the Rams. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl, for God's sake, with the guy. Round value still in this draft, okay? And Kenneth Gainwell is one of the guys I want to talk about. Sanders is nicked up already, okay? Again, he's nicked up. Hammy. Running back and hamstrings, me no likey. Me no likey in the beginning of the year. Like, it's just not good. You know, you're a running back. You need to be able to run wide receivers. When they nick up their hammies this close to the season, it's a red flag for me. To a guy that really hasn't been able to remain. Again, number one offensive line in football, some people say. Veteran group, but like play together, do well together. When they stopped BSing last year and the head coach decided to run the ball, the Philadelphia Eagles got immensely better as a football team. That's not going to stop. They're going to run the ball this year. Jalen Hurts is getting better. He's going to be able to throw the ball to A.J. Brown and those Devontae Smith and those guys and keep the chains moving. But I think one of those other running backs, even Bernard Scott, who when he gets on the field, he's productive. Miles Sanders banged up. You don't insert him right away. Like Kenneth Gainwell is sneaky for where, and he's going later. So like he's a guy that, presents immense value. The other guy is the last guy I talk about until I talk about my this year's Jamar Chase.
Okay.
This guy isn't this year's Jamar Chase, but a guy that is just grossly undervalued year in and year out, Brandon Cooks. Nico Collins is the sexy guy coming up for Houston. Everybody, yeah, Nico Collins, baby. Yeah, he's got height. He's tall. Brandon Cooks just says, you know what, guys? I play with the worst quarterbacks in the league, and I don't think David Mills, the guy is that bad. I think he's actually pretty good. And he surprised a lot of people coming out of Stanford last year. He knows what he's doing. He gets 1,000 yards and touchdowns with nobodies. And he's done it, and he's bet on himself, and he constantly gets the job done. Those are fantasy football winning players. That's how you win a championship. When you draft the Brandon Cooks in the 5th round, and you watch him week after week, and you're like, the guy just does it. He's got speed. He hasn't lost a step. He's not as old as you think. He's like 27, 20. He hasn't been in the league that long. So, a lot to like about where Brandon Cooks is going. Ladies and gentlemen, the Big Lambooski wants to let you know this year's Jamar Chase is going to be Chris Olave.
Chris Olave.
Oh, yeah. Now, New Orleans, 1st-round draft pick. Coming into the NFL draft, known as one of the better all-around wide receivers. Now, there was his teammate Wilson up in playing for the Jets right now, and there were a couple other guys, but guess what? Olave is in a great situation. First of all, he's a polished route runner. When you're a rookie and you're a polished route runner, gives you an advantage. You got to get separation in this league. He can do that. All right. You got Michael Thomas there who's going to gain attention. He's got a little nicked up with the handy, but if he's on the field, and I hope he's on the field because I think it makes Olave that much better, almost like T. Higgins, and you can't really worry about Jamar Chase. Olave got great hands, great route runner, and has the speed to go over the top. Jameis Winston, assuming he's healthy at the start of the season, he'll get you the football. He might not throw it to the right person every time, but he'll throw it your way. Okay? So, you deal with Jameis Winston. I'm not saying to go draft Jameis Winston. Right. If you want to, fine. I'm just saying that New Orleans is going to throw the ball a little bit more with their head coach this year. It's known. And all the rave about Chris Olave has been positive come out of camp. And I just look at him in that dome and not have to worry about weather conditions and just man, he's going to be a tough guy to stop. So he's my guy this year. When I look at a guy like Jamar Chase, who came in, highly touted, who, people liked, and he had the drop season. How'd that work out with the drop season preseason? So we can't get too caught up in preseason. That's why the eye test. Jamar Chase was getting open. He just dropped a few passes. It's the getting open part that we like. Well, Chris Olave is doing the same thing over there down in the what do they call it? The city, New Orleans.
NOLA.
Dude. NOLA, yes, down in the NOLA.
Casey, this dude is shot out of a cannon, bro. You're not joking.
He's my man. He's
unbelievable.
Oh, hang on, the macaroons are going off. Hey, the macaroons should be ready.
All right, I think that's it. Honestly, I have more stuff to ask, but let's save it. Let's just save it because we are locked in, dude. We got so much stuff going on. And Boo just went for it, big time.
Hang on.
It's been a lot of years. A lot of lot of years in the making right here.
Good stuff, man.
I told you, dude. I'm telling you, when people get a load of the Big Lambooski, it's over. I mean, it did. Where else are you getting this information? That's what I'm saying right there. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Beautiful.
He's rattling off these. You know me. I just put the money on the GM. That's my guy. That's why we win.
All good, man.
I'm the owner, baby. I'm the owner.
All right, let's do it. We're back next week, dude. 1 week before the season, the freaking Big Lambooski's coming in hot.
Yeah. You want the best fantasy football news? Right here at the Mayor's Office presents the Big Lambooski. Let's go. Subscribe, download, get locked and loaded with this guy because we're coming.
We're coming. All right, fellas. See ya.
All right. See you, Boo. Nice job, Chinchy. Love you, bro. See you guys.